This is The Wonderful 101 Remastered, developed and published by Platinum Games. Footage was recorded on a PS4 Pro. So The Wonderful 101 Remastered was a Kickstarter title that I backed. Full disclosure, I guess. In the game, you take on the role of this kind of team of wonderful ones. This is like horde of tiny superheroes. Not tiny, I suppose. They're like in scale in the game, but they just appear tiny. I don't know, whatever. Anyway. And you are battling the Geth Jerk Federation of aliens who are invading the planet and just being Geth Jerks, I guess. Gameplay wise, it's like a hack and slash. You have your horde of heroes, of 100 max heroes that you can kind of beat up enemies with. And then you can unite and morph into different shapes and stuff. So you can morph into a fist with some of your heroes, and they all combine together to make a big fist, or a big sword, or a big gun, etc. And you can use that to perform more powerful combos to defeat enemies. To do that, you originally, the game would have been on a Wii U, so you would have had the gamepad, and you would draw like a shape on the gamepad. So you draw a circle to make a fist, draw a line to make a sword, draw like an L shape to make a gun, draw like a squiggle to make a whip, and so on. Don't have a gamepad on the PS4 Pro. I mean, you have like the trackpad, and you can actually draw on the trackpad, but you know, it's kind of weird and it's like a small shape. But you can also just use the right analog stick, which kind of works. You know, it's a little difficult to draw like some of the more complicated shapes that they have later on. Like the later heroes have like weird H shapes, and like there's a lightning bolt and a squiggle, and yeah, sometimes the right analog stick, you know, it's hard to like get the sharp corner to make a lightning bolt, etc. But like it works for the most part. And it's a Platinum game title, so the action is like, you know, it's good. It's Platinum game style, action slashy. You know, beat up the dudes, do the combos. You know, you've got stingers, you've got pop-ups, etc. And it's a really like kind of fun written game. Like it's like it doesn't take itself very seriously. It's a very tongue-in-cheek, almost Power Rangers type thing going on with it. Heavy comedy focus. I had a lot of fun playing it. And I'm glad they did get around to remastering it, because it was originally exclusive to the Wii U and nobody owned a Wii U. So I'm glad they managed to get it out there. Self-published as well by Platinum Games, so Nintendo didn't take publishing rights, I guess, because they probably would have wanted it exclusive to the Switch in that case. So interesting to see Platinum Games take on like a self-publishing platform. Anyway, I had a lot of fun playing Wonderful 101. It's a very like kind of simple concept. Or maybe it's not. You know, like you're controlling like hundreds of characters. You're kind of controlling them in a big horde, but also sort of controlling one character at the same time. I'm not sure that really makes sense. You're like commanding your group, but you're also controlling like the fist or the sword or whatever. And you can later on like have 2 morphs going at the same time, 3 morphs going at the same time. So you can have like a fist and a sword and a whip and etc. So that gets pretty crazy. Like you can get some really interesting combos going on there. Enemies can have like weaknesses to different things, so the sword might be better for them, or the whip might be better for them, etc. The sword can be used to reflect laser shots and stuff like that. Whip can be used to pull spikes off enemies, so you've got a lot of like change up you can do there. If you like the kind of larger than life like Power Rangers style stuff and like Platinum Games combat, then you know Wonderful 101 is definitely worth a look. The remaster is available on Switch, PS4, and Windows PC. This is Ion Fury, developed by Voidpoint and General Arcade, published by 3D Realms. Footage was captured on a PS4 Pro. Ion Fury is a first-person shooter running in the Build engine. So if you're not familiar, the Build engine would have been the game engine used to write like Duke Nukem, those kind of old arcadey kind of first-person shooters. In Ion Fury, you take on the role of Shelly Bombshell Harrison, who is tasked with dealing with this influx of like cyborgy, cybernetically enhanced, like super soldier dudes who've taken over Neo District of Columbia. Okay, all right, whatever. Maybe it doesn't mean District of Columbia in future times. Anyway, and you do this by just shooting a whole bunch of shit. So Ion Fury is like a throwback to the kind of old arcadey shooters. Like, it's quite fast. There's a lot of gun variety. Not a whole lot of enemy variety. I did kind of feel like I had fought all of the enemies by the time I'd gotten halfway through the game. Although the game is surprisingly longer than I thought it was going to be. To be perfectly honest, like, I really liked the setting of Ion Fury, mostly because it was a throwback to those kind of games that I quite enjoyed. But like, the actual gameplay is not super fun. At least I don't find it all that fun. I'm not entirely sure. Like, I can pick out like little nitpicks, but like the whole overall experience just wasn't enjoyable, I guess. Like, my biggest gripe with it is just the absolute ton of tiny enemies that they throw at you. These little tiny like spider head things, and they're like only a couple of pixels in size, and like almost none of your guns can hit them for some reason. I ended up like almost relying exclusively on the auto-targeting function of one of Shelly's guns. Like, is the only way I could deal with them, because like nothing would hit them, or I'd be wasting tons of ammo trying to just hit these tiny little creatures. Some of the bigger enemies that do show up later on, I just feel like they have too much health. They just take too long to fight. It's just kind of annoying. Some of the later areas seem a bit samey. I was almost certain I had double backed on myself, but I hadn't. It was actually a new area. It just looked almost identical to the last area. It can be a bit overly difficult as well in some cases. Some of the boss fights are just fuck you. Like, there's a lot to like in Ion Fury, but I personally just felt that I wasn't having as much fun as I would have wanted to have with it. I did end up persevering and finishing the game, but like, I've no desire to go back to it. You know, I don't know how to really sum up my experience with it, other than I just didn't have fun, and tiny enemies are a pain in the balls to shoot. Like, there are a lot of guns, but I still ended up just using the gun that auto targets for me. Like, I felt no reason to ever not use that gun, because it just did the job. I don't know. Anyway, I can't recommend Ion Fury, but I mean, you might enjoy it. Anyway, it was on Windows PC like last year at some stage. I think it was early access, and then it was on Steam. But now it is on PC, Switch, PS4, and Xbox One. This is Telling Lies, developed by Sam Barlow and Furious Bee, and published by Annapurna Interactive. Footage was recorded on a PlayStation 4 Pro. Telling Lies is an interactive film puzzle game. You might be familiar with Sam Barlow's earlier work called Her Story, which is a similar type of thing. It was a 2-camera series of interactive films, if you like, where you would attempt to like piece together this woman's story. Telling Lies is a similar kind of idea. They've just kind of branched out with a bigger cast, like more than one person, I guess, and with sets and everything now and everything. So that's good. I guess he got some budget after doing that. So since this is like heavily a story-based game, I'm not going to go too much into the story, but you are playing the role of a supervising FBI agent, and you are reviewing footage from a case. And in the footage, you are seeing kind of a 2-year or 3-year life span of these 4 particular people and how their lives kind of get unraveled by telling lies, if you like. And kind of your job is to kind of piece together different pieces of footage, try to match them up, and try to get an idea of, you know, what happened to these people. The way you go about doing that is you have like this big database of video footage, and you have a piece of software that can cull through them. But the only way you can search by is by using search terms. Like, you need to give it a word and it will find videos that can match, but it'll only give you like 6 at a time. So it won't give you like the full list of videos you can get. So you need to be pretty selective in the words you're using, which is like exactly how her story worked as well. So the game will kind of help you out by just giving you a word right off the bat, and it'll give you like 6 videos you can watch, and by watching those videos you'll see other words pop up, or you know, you might see other people show up and you can use their name to track them down. You can cross-reference them. Sometimes you'll use a search term and a video you've already seen will pop up again. You'll be like, okay, right, so they're somewhat related. Or you might throw in a search term and you'll get a whole bunch of videos you haven't seen before and be like, oh, nice, good. And it's that kind of collecting and sort of piecing through the story. It all comes down to whether or not you enjoyed the story, to be honest, if you enjoyed the characters, etc. None of them are like outright likable exactly. They all have their problems. They're all telling lies. Some of them are kind of fucked over more than others. Some of them kind of get what they deserved, etc. If you liked his previous work, you'll like this as well. It's the same kind of deal, just like bigger, like a bigger cast, actual sets, you know, that kind of thing. I definitely had fun with it, but I can definitely see like there are like hurdles to overcome, like picking out the correct terms to use. You can't find yourself getting into a circle of just going, I'll use this word, I've seen these videos before, okay, use this word, I've seen these videos before, etc. You know, trying to find the correct word to use can sometimes be a little difficult to figure out, but you know, you'll get there eventually, and if not, there's guides on the internet. Anyway, Telling Lies has been on PC since like last year, I think, like August of last year, but it has only recently come to consoles. That's when I've had a chance to play it. So right now it's on Windows PC, Xbox One, PS4, Nintendo Switch. I think it's on Mac as well. Anyway, give it a shot. This is Streets of Rage 4, developed by .emu, Lizard Cube, and Guard Crush Games, published by .emu. This footage was captured on a PlayStation 4 Pro. So Streets of Rage 4 is a side-scrolling beat-em-up, harkening back to the days of the Streets of Rage and Double Dragon. This is following on directly from Streets of Rage 3, so there's a new crime syndicate trying to take over Wood Oak City, and you, Blaze and Axel and Adam have to team up again, and they're joined by newcomers, etc. And you're going to solve this crime syndicate problem by just beating up everybody in the city. Like it's a very still kind of old school game of walk to the right and punch and kick everything that comes into view. It's like the slight additions for like combo and combat mechanics. You know, you've got like regular moves, you've got kind of blitz moves that are kind of a bit like over the top stuff. You've got kind of like super special moves that eat a bit of your health, which is kind of typical for Streets of Rage before that, but there's a small addition now that it kind of just bleeds your health, and if you can make some follow-up attacks on enemies afterwards and don't get hit, then you can recover all that health you lost. So that's like an incentive to actually use the special moves. I would always be reluctant to do it because I knew it ate my health to do it, and then I'd die anyway, and I'd be like, well, I probably should just use the special move. But anyway, there you go. The game looks gorgeous, like it's really, really beautiful art style, and it's bright work. Music is also top notch. I listen to a lot of the tracks now just outside the game, they're in my regular rotation for liked songs that I listen to pretty regularly. I had a lot of fun with Streets of Rage 4. It's a bit short and it's a bit conservative gameplay wise. Like it still feels like it could have come out with Streets of Rage 3, if that makes sense. Like it's not a huge modernization of the concept of the side-scrolling beat 'em up. It's definitely an homage to Streets of Rage. It's just like a nicer, polished version of it. I do think there's room for like improvement for like combo mechanics, things like that. Like it's a kind of shallow pool of attacks you can do. You will be more or less doing the same set of attacks over and over again, which I mean you would have done in like original Streets of Rage, but you know, it's been a while. There've been a lot of beat 'em up hack and slashy games since then. You know, Platinum Games has come on the scene. There's, you know, an expectation for a bit more depth in your combat, I think, or at least I feel. I think you'll only really notice that in single player. Like if you're playing this with a friend or with a group of friends, you're not really gonna notice it. You know, you're not even gonna have a chance to do big combos anyway. So, you know, if you're playing this in the sense that I think the game is sort of intended to be played, which is with a buddy, up to 4 of you can play locally, and I think it's just 2 multiplayer, online multiplayer. I mean, I think when you have like a group of people, you're not gonna notice that the combo system is a bit shallow, but when you're playing it by yourself, you're gonna see it. You're definitely gonna notice. Either way, I still enjoy playing it, but it's definitely a bit short, and I would have liked a bit more depth in the combat. But otherwise, it's a really fun game, and I would actually like to play it again with somebody this time. That'd be great. Streets of Rage 4 is available on PC, Nintendo Switch, PlayStation 4, and Xbox One.
Unite up!
Roger.
Those were some of the games I played in May of 2020. Probably the standout for me, probably Telling Lies. I just really got into the story of it, and when I ended up finishing the game and it was like, you have missed this many things, and I was like, oh well, fuck you, I gotta start over again, I guess. And I did. I started over like immediately just to find all the missing stuff. After that, Wonderful 101 Remastered and Streets of Rage 4 were both a lot of fun to play. They had like their pitfalls. Streets of Rage is a bit short, and Wonderful 101, if anything, is probably a bit long. Ion Fury, the more I had played of the game, just the more I was happy it was over and I didn't have to play it anymore. It's just ended up just being very frustrating, and tiny enemies can just fuck off. Next month, so at time of recording, I've only just got a new PC. My old PC had died. Capture card does not fit in this new PC, so I don't know. I have some footage. It's not really enough to make a video out of it. I may end up doing a combination June and July, just because it's the summer months and not a ton of games actually come out. I'd be looking at Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition, which is out on the Switch, which is a kind of remaster of Xenoblade Chronicles, which I really liked. We'll be looking at that. We'll be looking at a game called The Takeover, which is another kind of side-scrolly beat-em-up, which I've heard good things about. I haven't had a chance to play it yet, but I'm looking forward to it. We'll be looking at Ghost of Tsushima, which would have been July, but again, if I'm going to combine them, it'll probably be in this video. We've got another game called Superliminal, which is like a puzzle type game where I'm pretty sure they just found a bug while they're developing and they just went, hey, that's a fun game mechanic, let's make it an actual not bug and a feature. There'll be some other things as well. I might have a look at the System Shock demo, and Devolver Digital did this weird marketing game thing that looks kind of dumb, so I might look at that as well. I don't know. Like I said, not a whole lot to fit in June or July by themselves, but combined they might be fine. And also, right now I have no way of actually capturing footage, so I don't know. Well, no, what we'll do. I have one on order, but like orders during the pandemic are all like super slow, so I guess we'll see what happens. Anyway, obviously that's why there was a delay getting this video out, because I just have been without a means of rendering. I just didn't have a machine powerful enough to do it. But I do now, so I just gotta wait on a fucking capture card. Anyway, let me know what you thought of this video, and I'll see you guys next time.